Well, hello and welcome to a very special program. 5 years after titanium rods were inserted into his spine and 5 vertebrae fused into one, Abhilash Tomy, a former Indian Navy commander, a Kirti Chakra winner, has crossed the finishing line at the Golden Globe race to circumnavigate the Earth in a 36-foot sailboat. He was nearly killed while participating in the same race in 2018. The Golden Globe race is widely considered the toughest maritime race ever devised and is possibly the world's most challenging endurance sport. Of the 16 skippers who had signed up for the race, just 3 finished, but only 2 in fact, Tomy and South Africa's Kirsten Schaefer, managed to circumnavigate the globe non-stop, unassisted and without any electronic aid, which is what the ultimate challenge was in this race. We are delighted to have with us in this exclusive interview his first since he arrived at the French port of Les Sables-d'Olonne, none other than our champion, Abhilash Tomy. Abhilash, wonderful to have you. You're looking good. Are you tired?
No, I can go around the world tomorrow.
Now that you've completed the race, Abhilash, is there this incredible weight off your mind? In 2018, you lay in the Indian Ocean, spinal injuries, you were almost paralyzed, and now you're in Les Sables-d'Olonne having completed what you had set out to do.
Absolutely. You know, I didn't want to be a one-time wonder where I did a circumnavigation in 12-13 with Navy support and then attempted something bigger and had to withdraw. So the completion of this race has lifted off a weight from me. And, you know, you lose your boat once, it's an accident. I didn't want to lose Bayanat. So I put in a tremendous effort to make sure that I got Bayanat back, and Bayanat also made sure that she got me back.
That boat is a part of your life, right?
Yes, this is the 3rd boat that's part of my life now.
You've been on this boat for 236 days. That attachment is something phenomenal, isn't it?
Yes, and in that 200 and I really don't know how many days, I've kind of rebuilt many parts of the boat, including the batteries, parts of the mast, the self-steering. So I've left a signature in the boat.
We'll talk about all of those things that you had to do. But it's not been an easy ride either this time. You've had knockdowns and bad storms to contend with. Firstly, for the benefit of our viewers, what is a knockdown and how can it end up having terrible consequences?
Well, a knockdown is, you know, you've got a boat that is flat and then the boat tilts to such a degree that the mast is underwater and then it comes back again. That's what's technically a knockdown. And in a small boat, it's called a capsize. What happens in a knockdown actually is that, you know, you live in a house and imagine somebody takes it and shakes it like that. So inside the boat, that's what happens. You got diesel stuck on the from the bilge, it flies onto the kitchen and charts, you know, inside the bilge, and everything is a mess inside the boat. But outside, more critically, what happens is that the mast takes a dip and comes back, and there's a good chance that it might break, which is what happened in 2018. This time, I had 2 knockdowns, and luckily, the man who prepared the boat did it so well that the mast and all the rigging came back still supported, and I was able to continue.
Abhilash, throughout your journey, you've had to think up solutions when parts of the boat started quitting on you. The sail got torn on a couple of occasions. Even I think about 7 to 10 days back, I believe there were problems with the rudder, electric systems, charging your devices on board. How is it true that you used the door of your bathroom to fashion something which was a vane which broke or something?
So there is a self-steering system, which is a very rudimentary autopilot. It's mechanical. It runs on wind and the boat speed. And I initially had problems with the vane on top that kept breaking. And then I removed the ceiling of my boat. And with that, I fashioned a wind vane. And I took off Perspex sheets from my chart table, sawed that off and used that. So that top part was taken care of. But eventually the bottom, the rudder that goes into the water, which takes a lot of strain, that started breaking. I had 3. I ran through all 3. And then finally I ripped off my toilet door and made a blade and put it. That broke. I took off the hatch covers of my storage space and I, you know, put that there. That broke. And finally what I did is I dismantled my anchor and, you know, took out a piece that was quite similar to this rudder blade, and I installed that. And with that, I sailed about 11,000 miles to the finish.
And just installing a rudder itself must have been difficult. You'd be off the boat, fixing it, right?
No, this is not the rudder of the boat. This is the rudder blade of the self-steering, which is much smaller.
Right. No, I know what that is, right. And what else broke?
A lot of things. The sail one day ripped from end to end. And the same day, one of the supports of the mast ripped off. It's a stainless steel wire. And dealing with both the problems was like 26 hours of non-stop effort. I had to climb the mast with, 2 solutions, and then I had to install it and come down and test it. I removed the guardrail and installed it on the mast to support it.
This was your starboard runner, right? That went?
This was a port rudder. Port rudder was the first to go. And just a few days back, the starboard one went.
Yeah. Right, but carry on. Tell us your story, because it was also, you were going through intense waves at a particular time. That's when a lot of things started going awry, right?
Yes, you have those little problems like one pump not working and something that keeps happening. But I remember 26th of January, Republic Day, when I wanted to hoist all the flags, I had a sudden storm, which was not predicted in any of the weather models. And it just kept building up from 20, which is very benign, to 30, which is okay, to 40, which is dealable, and went up to 60. And I had waves which are at least 7-8 meters. So 2 ropes of the self-steering slipped out of the rudder, and I ended up, out of the tiller, and I ended up steering the boat continuously for 12 hours. And from day, it became night, and there was no light, and I couldn't leave and, go and switch on the navigation light. I couldn't go and get a head torch so that I could look at the compass. It was unbelievable chaos for 12 hours. And since this is a long keel boat, steering is not a simple affair. It's not light. You have to hold the tiller with both hands and row it, use your entire body and back. And well, after that, my back packed up so badly that my right leg went limp for quite a long time. I was dragging my right leg along the boat for many days.
And water flooded into your cabin at that stage. Your electrical systems were also exposed. And you couldn't give up the tiller at that stage.
Exactly. So I was stuck with the tiller. I couldn't shut the companionway, the entrance of the boat, and water kept, gushing in. And I had at least 15, 20 crash jibes. The traveler was like partly uprooted. And this water went straight onto the chart table. And from the chart table, that's where you got all the electronics. It went into the switchboard, and the VHF switch started malfunctioning. And a lot of chaos happened that day.
You weren't drinking very much water throughout this journey, fresh water, were you? Could you tell us, and you said this earlier on today in this press conference, that you had just a cup of water a day. How did you manage?
No, I have a cup of water in 2 days.
What?
Yeah. So one of the rules of this race is that you cannot use one-time use plastic. So plastic water bottles are not allowed. You have to carry the water either in the tanks or in jerry cans, and you can't carry so many jerry cans and so much of huge tanks with you. I set off with 270 liters of water, which if you work out, this thing, it's roughly 1 liter a day for the entire trip. And the idea is to augment this with rainwater. An RO plant is not allowed, right? So I was able to catch about 30 liters by the time I crossed the equator, 30 or 40 liters of rainwater. And after that, I thought that, if I consume 2 liters a day, which is standard, I might end up in a situation where I'm not able to catch rainwater at the equator on the return, and I might have to retire. So thinking 3 months in advance, I decided to reduce my consumption to 1 liter. And I started cooking rice in seawater, drinking 1 glass of water in 2 days, and maybe a cup of coffee. So that's more water going into you. And I was holding on to 1 liter a day till I managed to collect about 10 liters close to New Zealand, and some more at Cape Horn, and some more at Falkland. And finally, I managed about 100 liters at the equator on the return leg.
Your struggle, your battle really began before the race even started. Raising funds for this was very difficult, and your sponsors, Bharat, really came through at a time when I believe there was an element of despair. Without that team, it wouldn't have happened, right?
No, it would not have happened. There is no doubt about it. And I'm incredibly thankful to Bayanat for, not just being generous in terms of the money that they offered, but the way in which they offered with absolutely no interference. I think they gave me a long leash in that sense. They let me do what I wanted to do. They let me plan my race the way I wanted to. And that's why I was able to pull together a campaign in such a short time. You must understand that when I did the first circumnavigation in 2012 with Navy support, I had the boat with me for about 3 years. I did 27,000 miles of training on it before I started the 21,000 mile circumnavigation. But this time, I had just 1.5 months to prepare the boat and 15 days to do a practice voyage. That's it.
Did you know that sometime last week you were a clear 24 hours ahead of Kirsten, who came first, and you were likely to cross the finishing line first, but then there was a weather alert of a storm and you had to change course. Do you believe that this was perhaps the decisive factor in your not crossing the finish line first? You may not necessarily have won because of fuel consumption still, but you may still have been able to cross the finish line first.
Well, when I look back, there are hundreds of reasons. If any one of those things had not happened, I would have clearly finished ahead of Kirsten. One of which is, heading back to India for 5 weeks due to some personal reasons in the middle of the preparations. Another was the collision that I had when I was heading to the start line, which took away a lot of energy from me. And 1 week after the start, I was like literally just trying to get my grounding back, bearings back. And then one after the other, the problems that kept happening, if any one of them had not happened, I would have clearly won it. I'm quite sure of that.
You left your signature on this gigantic ship even before the race began. Your bow, a part of it, had to be replaced. That was make or break, right?
It was. Bayonet is a fantastic organization, but contractually, if they wanted to implement it, I would have kind of gone bankrupt if I could not make the start. I had to request some friends for funds, and they kind of pulled in almost 500 million overnight. Entire Europe was on leave. My wife was contacting a lot of people in France, including the mayor of Les Sables-d'Olonne, whom she met in the last trip. And then I contacted Rustler Boats in the UK. And finally, it was Dick Koopmans, the technical manager, who got a yard from Belgium to come and do this while entire Europe was on leave. The manager of one of the entrants, got the mast completely done. That was Ian. And luckily, I had Sandy with me, who made sure that one is, making sure that the boat is structurally fine. There's a bow, there's a mast and all that. And I had Sandy who made sure that it complied with all the green card checks of the Golden Globe race. And I was working till whatever time to get the boat ready. And after that, when everybody left, I still had to continue working till 2 in the morning. And then again, wake up at 7 and, restart the day. It was quite tough.
Your competitor and primary competitor, there were so many wonderful people. But Kirsten Schaefer, she draped the tricolour today when she came to see you. We saw this photograph of hers. And what an incredible woman, the first woman to win the GGR. And yet the camaraderie, despite the adversity and despite the competition, the camaraderie between the two of you was incredible. How special was that? That she came and said, "Hi, Abhilash, look who's here."
That's what's so special about sailing compared to other sports. I was a part of the Volvo Ocean Race in 2008 when it came to India, and incredibly competitive with almost, I think, 10 or 20 Olympic medals between those 8 boats, well funded with millions and millions. Each team had, a huge budget. But behind the scenes, the shore managers were just exchanging, stuff. One guy wanted a rudder from somewhere. Another team will fly it down for them, etc. Or if one skipper is in trouble at sea, it's another skipper that goes to the rescue, like Kirsten did for Tapio.
In fact, we've got some video of Kirsten as well. We'll try and play that out in a moment, but carry on, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And, Gregor, in 2018, dismasted, but he put up a jury rig and he sailed towards me to pick me up. And this time also, even after the accident, I came to Les Sables-d'Olonne, the boat was picked out of water and I was lost. And there was a Turkish entrant who came and cleaned up the boat, right? I went for a shower to the common toilet, and by the time I was back, he cleaned up the boat. Minutes later, Kirsten and another guy were there removing the sails and making sure that at least some work can happen. And that's the kind of camaraderie that you'll see only in sailing. I don't think you'll see it in football or some other sport.
So there's another woman who is perhaps the strongest woman in your life, your wife, Urmi, right?
There are two, I would say. One is my mother.
Well, I mean, sure, but how would you like to see Urmi right now? Like right now?
Right now, if she were here in Les Sables alone, I will just jump.
Well, no, I can't do that. But what I can do, and here's the surprise on this program.
Yes,
We've
please.
got Urmi Abhilash right now,
Yes.
and there she is.
Hi, Vishnu.
Oh my God.
Hi, Urmi.
I've not seen her for I've not seen her for I don't know how many months.
How many months?
I think last I saw her was in Australia, in Tasmania, on a video call.
Well, look.
Vishnu,
Thank you so much for doing this, Vishnu. It's
Urmimala, the name means a string of ocean waves.
And she is that string that has sort of been such a factor in your life in all of the crazy challenges that you've sort of placed on yourself. And she has been your anchor. Can you tell us about how she's sort of defined, what it is for you to actually go about and do all of this?
The thing is, it was very easy for Urmi to tell me after the last accident that enough, focus on your family, don't get into this madness again. That's standard. Any Indian woman would have done that. But I think I'm incredibly lucky, and I'm a very, very special person to have this woman in my life because in this race, she has been my biggest support. And I always tell that if you have an idea that is so, so different, you need at least one person to start believing in you. And the first person to believe in me was Urmi. And when I couldn't get up and walk, I needed crutches. I ordered books on sailing, boat design. She saw that. She didn't stop me. I got back to flying. I got back to sailing. She didn't stop me. I started looking for sponsors. She didn't stop me. The good thing about her is that she is such a balancing factor. Without her, I would have gone into another series of madness where I invest my money and look for a sponsor and then go into a spiral of debt and stuff like that. She made sure that there was a steady hand on this campaign all through. When I was down the dumps, she would give me the courage to face the next day. When there were some diplomatic things to be handled diplomatically, she would do some back channel talks with whoever was creating problem, and she would make sure that it didn't come on me, as in I didn't have to deal with it. I just can't wait to come home. I'm half the man that I was when I left. But I'm sure
you lost 20 kilos, right?
Maybe more. I saw myself. I don't know. God.
I should take up sailing. Urmi, what do you have to tell Abhilash? I mean, just this moment. I mean, tell us anything.
I don't know. I'm short on words right now because I've not had a chance to talk to Abhilash or see him. He's been so caught up. And I just want to reach out and just pull him close, give him a hug. I just want to, it's been forever. And it's been very, very tough being away from him. He's the light of our lives, And so
and
I'm very happy
and the two of you have two young children.
Yes.
And Abhilash has always said that, look, I'm a sailor, I do all of this, but I'm always going to be a husband and I'm always going to be a father. So that's the way he's led his life, right, Urmi?
Yes, exactly so. He juggles everything, it's not just me.
But Urmi, tell us about what the last 8 odd months have meant for you. How difficult has it been?
I'm asked this often, but it's not been difficult for me at all, Vishnu, because Abhilash has made sure that we are extremely comfortable, like I said, our bills are paid in advance. Everything is sorted. Everything is comfortable. It's him who had to, go through a lot. And it's his story. We have had all the luxuries and all the pleasures. I've just missed him terribly.
I dare say, Urmi, it's your story in as much as it is his. And I think he'd be the first to tell you that. Abhilash?
Yes, absolutely. No doubt. I tell you this, GGR is, it's more about her than about me. No doubt about it. It's easy to go, but it's so tough to see somebody go like this.
Well, the two of you are going to see each other in just a couple of days from now. Abhilash, what are you going to do next? I mean, you've gotten off this crazy journey of yours. Are you just going to kick your boots off or your shoes off and, just sort of lie on a beach somewhere or what?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'll have fish curry rice in Viva Goa.
Right. You've got that priority fixed. Fair enough. Good point.
Absolutely. I've made an exhaustive list when I was at sea. Secondly, I'm not a professional sailor. I don't make a earning or living out of sailing, so I'll need to look for a job. But let's see. I'll continue sailing. May not be another GGR, but let's see.
Do you want to do something else? You're a pilot as well.
Don't try to put words in my mouth. But yeah, you never know.
No ideas. You aren't doing anything right now.
Not right
I take
now,
that question back. We've had enough of you doing these crazy things. But I'm running short. Go ahead, Abhilash.
What I say is that I can do anything I want as long as Urmi is okay with it.
I'm sure. Urmi, are you okay with him doing anything else after all of what you've seen?
Not at the moment.
Right. So that's the final word over there. But Abhilash, something which our viewers may not all know is that this isn't the first time that you've circumnavigated the globe. You've done it in the past, but you've done it with stops. What is the difference between stopping, albeit briefly, and doing this non-stop?
Slight correction. I've done 2 non-stop.
Right. You've done 2 non-stop, right?
Yes. The first one with stops was done by Captain Dilip Donde. So in a voyage with stops, the longest leg you do is about, let's say, 5,000 miles, depending on the number of stops you have. And you're allowed to replenish, repair, take a rest, and then continue on the next leg whenever you feel like. So that's there. But when you do a non-stop, the thing is, you cannot take any assistance. You cannot stop. You can harvest the sea. You have to start and finish in the same port and go south of all the capes, etc. So I did a non-stop in 12-13 on Made. I tried to do another non-stop in 2018 on GGR, which ended in a bit of a tragedy. And I've done it again in 22-23. So this is my second non-stop.
You were rescued in the South Indian Ocean in 2018, and in this tiny island where you were given preliminary medical attention, they gave you a cap, right? And you wore that cap back today because you promised them that that's what you do.
Yes. So they gave me a beanie cap.
A beanie, okay.
Which has got Amsterdam Island written on it, and it's the French subantarctic territories. You've got Kerguelen, Amsterdam, St. Paul, and Crozet. So they gave me a hat, and I said that, if I do the race again, I'll wear it at the start. But it was too hot at the start, so I wore it at the finish. And it also served the other purpose of hiding all the hair that I couldn't chop at sea.
There was a moment in this race, Abhilash, when you were fighting a battle in your own mind, when these images which we are broadcasting now of 2018 would have come to have haunted you. What happened then, and how did you actually get that willpower back to continue?
I really thought that I did not have any trauma from the last accident. My life on land was very regular. I did not have any problems. Even when I sailed, I did not have problems. But when I started GGR, it all started coming back. I realized that my muscles were tightening, my neck was tightening, and my thighs were tightening, and it happened quite often. And especially around the 21st of September, the date on which it happened, and when I was crossing the geographical point at which the accident happened, And whenever it happened, I resorted to breathing, very focused, methodical breathing, which, I mean, even the Upanishads just, prescribe that to bring your focus back, attention back. So that's what I did, and I did it a lot to get back, into whatever I was dealing with.
Look, Abhilash, you are a champion for all of us, a true inspiration, an incredibly courageous person, and congratulations on having finished this race, the toughest endurance sport perhaps there is, replicating conditions of sailing in the 60s. You did this unassisted, alone, over 236 days, surviving off the sea when necessary, but you're back, and that's wonderful. Thank you very much, both of you, for being with us.
Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vishnu.